Ryan Tomczyk. I'm a consultant with Booz Allen Hamilton, and I support the NIJ Forensic Science R&D program. When we originally conceived this panel, we were thinking about all the different events that we wanted to focus on for this one, mass disasters and global security. So we're focused on crimes against humanity, especially those involving mass graves, and also the trafficking of drugs and explosives. Our first presenter today is Mohammed Mahfouz, and he's an associate professor of biomedical engineering and a co-center director for the Joint University of Tennessee and Oak Ridge National Laboratory Center for Musculoskeletal Research. His research focus is diverse and includes applications in biomedical imaging, microelectrical mechanical systems, surgical navigation systems, and forensic anthropology. Now I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. I would like to thank everyone for attending, and good afternoon. Briefly, this is a computerized method for fragmentary skeletal remains. It combines some of the techniques from biomedical engineering and forensic anthropology. Briefly, the outline, I will give background information, our personal collaborators, and the problem statement, and our project goals and data sets, and then some idea on the research design, methodologies, and impact and outcomes of the research, and finally, the dissemination strategy and milestones and activities. I would like to introduce our collaborators in this project. Our side, we have the software methodology development that includes myself and Dr. Imam, our postdoc, and a number of graduate research students. And from data collection, the graphical information system and evaluation of segmentation, Dr. Nicholas Herman from MSU. And also for evaluation and data collection, Dr. Natalie Shirley. So these are our co-investigators. Now, the problem statement is this is kind of a different approach to fragmentary bone reconstruction, where we can have problems like mass disaster or mass graves coming, and probably all cold cases, and what we need to do is to get the minimum number of individuals or create a biological profile. So we are going to, according to the recommendation from the working group of forensic anthropology for reconstruction, which basically you can have a visual pair matching, osteometric evaluation, and taphonomic in order to establish the biological profile. And in this case, we will do all this, but with a little bit addition of a three-dimensional complete system. Now, part of this project is to get the fragmentary remains and either CT scan them or laser. It doesn't matter, because some cases you cannot have, you don't have a CT, so we also allow an input from a laser scan. So in the case of CT, we do segmentation, and we'll show this in the steps and details. And then basically the project here, our objective is to have a software tool that will estimate the minimum number of individuals and minimum number of elements, and actually reconstruct the bone and conduct measurements, and we can interface with 4-disk or we can use some statistics, and then in order to create the biological profile. Now, this is our project statement, which is the purpose of this project is to provide forensic anthropologists with user-friendly software that will enhance the analysis of fragmentary skeletal remains. The software will enable anthropologists to calculate a minimum number of elements, reconstruct fragmentary human remains, and subsequently extract measurements that otherwise would not be feasible. The project goals will provide numerous capabilities to the user. It's intended to serve as a forensic case or scene osteological management. In this case, the scanned skeletal remains from each scene will be reviewable within the application. You can actually recreate, hopefully, the scene in the application. It will provide a minimum number of elements, estimate of scanned material following osteological protocols developed in forensic anthropology and bioarchaeology. Minimum number of element estimates will allow for the determination of the minimum number of individuals represented at the scene. Now, the project is a combination of anthropological, physical anthropological measurements, and some of our previous work in biomedical engineering, which focuses, comes from my background on implant design, which we have to deal also with bone, but in a more quantitative manner. Traditional measurements will be used in a program interface to 4-disk or can be manually plugged into equation for metric assessment. And of course, we look for the sex, ancestry, and stature. In addition, any of the measurements can be used in a nonlinear classifier that will be embedded into the software. So we'll have also classification system for sex and ancestry estimation. The project should start actually the 1st of January, and we actually did less than 2 weeks ago some scanning from the Morton collection, and this is an example of what we do. This is our scanning box. Here you can see this is volume rendered, and this is the surface bone. Of course, the arrangement is carefully put into the box in the CT. This is from our previous work on BAS collection, where we have complete individual subjects scanned. Now, the research design process, I'm going to touch on this, not in very detail, but I'm going to tell you exactly how we're going to approach this. So basically, you start with the fragmentary remains, and you either CT them or laser scan. It kind of doesn't matter. And then from the scanning, we create fragmentary surface generation. You go through 3 processes here, which is the fragmentary matching, the color-coded as we see, and then statistical, atlas and bone interpolation, and then the measurements. This is the first, and of course the interaction between the different modules, and I will go through them. Matching and grouping fragments. Basically, you have fragmentary pieces. We create the surface model, and we'll give an example of each, and we extract the fracture surfaces, and we do some boundary and determining matching curves, basically matching the fracture sites. And then we go through an iterative method. For example, if you have number of bone that you cannot really match them or degraded or modified, then we go into matching using some CT density. And I'm going to explain this, and it goes the iteration until you group the fragments together. So this is the first part. You can get fracture sites, and then you take care of the surfaces. This is our software interface. Here, looking at the matching of the surfaces, and of course, in this case, this is a car accident case, and you can see the site of fracture. And this is from our previous work when we did similar techniques did some paleoanthropology work. Also, part of the scanning, we look at the density and the homogeneity. Basically, when we scan the CT, which is preferable to a laser scanner, we can use phantom. This phantom has different types of tissue, including mineral, including soft tissues and hard tissue. But this is allow us basically to calibrate the CT. So if you want you want to make sure your data is sensitive, means that it will not change from the calibration of a CT machine from a different machine, then you have to do something like calibration. And in this process, we don't have to worry about the machine we're using here. As you can see, Hounsfield units, and we can see the different types of trabecular versus cortical bone, and we can, in this case, don't worry at all about the type of equipment. So the second part is we do the statistical analysis. Basically, statistical analysis, it's based on our previous work. We started all this attempt to use it in fragmentary bone. We think of a bone as basically a template, and this is a statistical template. This statistical template, or a mold, that basically, if you create a large number of individuals, you can have a good idea about the population and the variation of individuals. So when we add, in this case, here we see a pelvis. When we add it to the statistical atlas, you have a template bone, and you want to add this bone, you want to capture the statistics. So it's basically the template will mold around, basically think about it as stretching, twisting, and doing number of things, and then ending by doing this, it matches exactly the bone we want to add to the database or the statistical atlas. And using, of course, principal component analysis, we can take all the statistics from this bone into our statistical atlas. That's an example of, we call them training shapes, and basically we can, after doing this, we can get the mean shape and we can have a good idea. So while it's coming up, so this, the whole purpose of the statistical atlas is really for, if you do this step like that, you can really have a good idea about a population, and from there we can fill in the gaps, and we'll see how in the next slide. From the atlas, we can interpolate missing parts. So this is the flow chart. Basically, you get a partially reconstructed bone, find the closest bone in the atlas by using some point cloud. Basically, you start by finding the closest bone, align them, and once we do this step, we have a matching criteria. Basically, you find the fragment, where the fragment located on the expected bone, and you have a matching score. And after putting number of fragments together, you can interpolate by using the optimization and optimization process, which will recreate number of bones based on the statistics, and then after some conversion criteria, you can fully reconstruct the bone. The process starts something like that. So you find the most closest bone by having number of point cloud, and in the statistical atlas, we'll find the closest bone. Then, like the iterations that I mentioned in the previous slide, once it finds the closest bone, then it will do some optimization, try to fill, for example, here, the gap, and by doing this, it creates completely the bone, and we have filled the fracture site, and in this case, we can find individuals. Now, we have done this this is two cases we run this example on. This is a car accident. The left was a case that we identify. We used the software to identify this case. Also, number of other grants we're working on, we can use interpolating missing parts. Here in this case, we can use the Nazian or the zygomates or the acetabular cup. And actually, in our biomedical work, we work with surgeons to basically pelvis reconstruction using similar techniques. So after people have a hip implant failure, where nothing left in the bone, and basically we have to build something. So this is where the background coming from, really. The third step is the measurements. Once you created the bone or potential a bone with the fragment, then you can go through the regular statistics, like interface to of the disk or something similar, and you can actually use it in classification too. We can identify the sex and ancestry. So that's basically the automated measurement. I want to say something that also in the statistical atlas, we get the template bone, we do all the localization or measurements one time, and it will propagate through all the bone in the database. And then from this, if we want to identify the reconstructed bone, it goes through this process, and we identify the landmarks and the statistics, and we can get a lot of information. This is some of the automated measurements that we use, part of the automated measurements. Like we have so many measurements on the femur, carenia, and now the pelvises. This is some of the automated measurements that we had for another NIJ grant on the carenia. Now, the validation, there are three-tier validation strategies. So the first one will use trauma cases from William Bass donated collection. The second, we will use stage 2, we'll use graphical information system software done independent of us with Dr. Nicholas Herman. And then the third validation system will have a simulated fragmentary data. So in the case of the trauma case, what we're going to do is we get 10 cases, some of them intact, some of them fragmentary. It will be segmented, and then the reconstruction will be used through our software. We mirror the models also to look for homologous sets, and then compare the surface error between intact and reconstructed bones. So that's one method. This is an example of the data we have. This is done from the Morton shell. They were going to do their own estimation, and we will use the same data set, and we will do our own, and we will compare both results. And of course, this is some of you, of course, aware of GIS software, how they work, and also some sort of mapping and identify the non-overlapping or overlapping areas. We a little bit different than this method, and that's why it's very important to compare it to an independent method like the GIS. The third method for comparison is from simulated fragmented data, and this will be done by Dr. Natalie Shirley here. So you'll get bones from 5 individuals. We're going to CT scan them. The difference here is going to print a 3D models of them. We have a 3D printer. Once we've done this step, we will take the printed bone and we will CT scan them again and apply the software on them and then compare to the initial data. And this is an example of a 3D printer we have in the lab, and actually you can print a complete skull or fragmented skull, it doesn't matter. The impact and outcome. Forensic anthropologists have made considerable headway in the past 15 years in terms of updating and improving methodologies. We hope that our methods contribute to existing methods and not replacing but complement. The project will expand this effort in terms of the analysis of fragmentary skeletal remains. Forensic anthropology casework routine involved the analysis of incomplete skeletons. I hope that the method I presented is basically interpolating method which can fill in the gaps in situations like that. Of course, the system will allow, I may have forgot to mention this, that there is a scoring system, or you could say if the bone is completely modeled or unmodeled or changed, you can identify when you scan the bone, and you can give it, and this will give it probability scores and will affect the reconstruction. So informative morphological traits are missing or damaged. Best practice dictates that these traits and measurements associated with these traits are omitted from the analysis in order to reduce the observer error that may result from making visual approximations. In the event of some degree of reconstruction is possible, significant error is typically introduced into the analysis, thereby calling into question the degree to which case analysis is accurate or and admissible. We use cutting-edge technology in this project, and from our point of view, by using the statistical bone atlases to facilitate and quantify the reconstruction of fragmentary. I have to say that we use these methods intensively in the orthopedic industry. So for creating implants, and some of the earlier work that I personally have done was involved helping companies designing knee implant that more friendly to women, like the gender knee and the gender hip. And we use gender in biomedical still. So the error rates in the form of confidence score based on the root mean square error will be established for bone reconstruction as well as for computer automated measurements generated by the software. A rule, computer automated measurements are more reliable, and this is what we're saying is our hope is to reduce the intra and inter-observer error by using this method. Of course, the validation is very important. The software will be developed by this research team, hopefully will have impact on the forensic anthropology practice. We will put the initial version of the software, will target the femur, humerus, pelvis, and skeleton. We have done this before. So our first release, hopefully will be a year from now, will include this bone I mentioned. And the proposed application like 4-disk here is important. Although we have our own statistical methods in the software, it's important to interface because 4-disk has probably more data sets than what we have. Now the impact, the software will be used for re-evaluating. That's another way unsolved forensic cases, in that it may provide information that was previously missing. In the case of fragmentary carenia, the software reconstruct also make a facial approximation possible. And we did one grant before with NIJ, and hopefully to continue we use some similar methods in facial reconstruction. The decimation strategy is we will have a software tool. So we will, in a year, we will have the initial free for anyone can use, and we will disseminate the knowledge through presentations and meetings, publication, and training workshops. This pilot version, I say in hopefully in a year, we will put this for users to use, and we hope to get feedback. And after the first year, when we release the software, it will also be still free, but maybe a nominal fee for maintaining the software updates and migration to a web-based version. Our planning for the decimation strategy is to present in next year, the AFS meeting, and also in Seattle 2014, and we are hopefully prepare some publications and some training workshops. This is our milestones and activities and timeline. And that's it. Thank you.